We should be live in about 5 to 10 more seconds. Okay, we are live on Facebook or YouTube, and okay, we're ready to go.
There you go. Okay, folks, we'll call this meeting to order. Monday, May the 18th, Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting.
June 15th.
I'm sorry. I've got the wrong date up here. Okay, everyone please stand. Lois will lead us in the invocation, and Alderman Radford will lead us in the pledge.
May we pray. O God, creator and sustainer of all life, we thank you for all of the blessings that you've shared with us. We thank you for the town of Unicoi and for the opportunity to be about its business. We pray, God, that you'll be here with us, that you'll guard, guide, and direct, that everything that is said and done here will be pleasing in thy sight and carried forward with thy wisdom. In the name I pray. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I apologize for that wrong date. This is June meeting. Okay, this meeting, subject to board approval, will allow members to participate electronically or by other means. Citizens wishing to submit comments to the Board of Mayor and Alderman may do so by submitting comments on the Town of Unicoi website by mailing to the following address: P.O. Box 39, Unicoi, Tennessee 37692, calling the Town of Unicoi at 423-735-0517, and or by dropping off at the town hall drop box located in the Unicoi Drive vestibule. I will now have the roll call. When I call your name, please answer here. I can see participants. I can hear participants.
Alderman Bowen,
Here, I can see participants and I can hear participants.
Alderman Radford,
Here, I can see participants and I can hear participants.
Alderman Linville,
Here, I can see participants, and I can hear participants.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Here, I can see participants, I can hear participants.
Mayor Lynch.
Here, I can see participants. I can hear participants. Okay, we're down to item 5 on the agenda. The Board of Mayor and Aldermen consider the necessity of meeting electronically to protect public health, safety, and welfare of Tennesseans in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Item 6, the Board of Mayor and Aldermen shall adopt the executive orders and procedures for meeting electronically, and I've now entertained the motion.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? To adopt the executive orders and procedures for meeting electronically. Call the question.
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, item 7, we will now have Lois Schultz Davis will review the meeting etiquette for virtual meetings.
Mayor Lynch, that's the same information that we reviewed with each electronic meeting that we have, that participants, especially those appearing remotely, should maintain their mute on their particular device, that those participating in the meeting should refrain from talking over each other so that everyone can be heard.
Okay, thank you. Go to item 8. We will need to amend the agenda to include the item D under number 14, new business, later on in the meeting. It's consideration of approval of Washington Street road closure for the Unicoi Gas Company to do some testing on gas pipelines. So I'll need a motion to amend the agenda to add that.
Motion to amend the agenda to add for the Washington Street project.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
Question, how long does it probably be closed for?
18 days.
2 to 3 weeks. Call the question.
Alderman Boyd,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes,
Now that vote was to amend the agenda, correct?
that's the
That-
amended
Yes,
agenda.
just to amend it.
Okay, item 9 is the approval of the May 18th, 2020 BMA meeting minutes.
Motion approved. Second.
I have a motion to approve and a second. Do I have any further discussion on approval of the BMA minutes for May 18th, 2020? Call the question.
Alderman Boyd,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Okay, item 10 is a special presentation that the town of Unicoi would like to recognize the Unicoi Ruritan Club on their 70th anniversary presentation of this plaque. And I will read the plaque, and I understand we have a representative from the Ruritan Club that zoomed in. Is that correct?
Yes, he has.
Ken Kissel, is that right?
I'm trying to unmute him.
Okay. Just let me know.
Hello?
There he is.
Can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, good to see you, Ken. We would like to present the Ruritan Club with this plaque. I'm sorry we couldn't do this in a regular meeting, but you know how it goes. I'll read it and then I'll turn it around where you can see it. The town of Unicoi recognizes and congratulates the Unicoi Ruritan Club for 70 years of dedicated service to the community. Established July 21, 1949, the oldest active Ruritan club in Tennessee. And it's a pretty nice looking plaque. Can you see it?
Yes.
Well,
I can
do you
see it.
approve?
Thank you very much. It's very nice. Can I say a couple words?
Yes, sir.
Good. I'd just like to thank, number one, all of the people we have supporting us, not only from within the county, but now in North Carolina and Johnson City. We really appreciate all that they do for us, both helping us and buying our stuff and coming to our fish fries and all that kind of thing. It's very helpful. Secondly, I'd like to thank the town for always keeping us in mind when you're planning town-wide events kind of thing. Over the past couple of years, a full 1/3 of the earnings that we've made and we're able to put back into the town organizations have come from those events. And so those events are very important to us, and we like to think very important down the line to the people to whom we give the money. And then thirdly, on a kind of special and personal note, I'd like to express my thanks to the potato washing machine at the Mountain Harvest Kitchen, which we use for washing potatoes for the fish fries. The potato machine and I have developed a nice relationship over the past couple of years. We've had some good times and some bad times, but it's certainly been helpful to us. And thank you all for the
Thanks.
recognition.
Thank you for all that y'all do.
Sure.
Okay. Under item 11, I have a special announcement. This was in the Johnson City Press, May 22nd, 2020 edition. An announcement was made of this year's Johnson City Times News Super 19 Athletic Team baseball players. One of our own town of Unicoi residents made this team. His name is Jordan Bridges, and he is only a junior at Unicoi High School. He is the only baseball player from Unicoi County to receive this honor. His parents are Patrick and Natalie Bridges. This is an outstanding accomplishment. We would like to congratulate him. I guess we could all give him a little hand here. Congratulations. Okay, we're moving down to old business, item 12. Oh, did I miss it, David? You bet. Yeah. Item 12. I've got item 11 special announcement.
It's 12. 12's under old business.
It's 11 on the packet I picked up.
I picked up
Well,
16.
probably because we added that, amend the agenda to it.
Old business.
Okay. Anyhow, this is ordinance 2020 -274. And I will close the regular meeting, open up public hearing on this ordinance 2020-274. That's an ordinance of the town of Unicoi adopting the annual budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2020 and ending July 30, 2021. You should have information with you. Do we need to read this ordinance on the second reading, or Lois?
No, just review that.
When you finish reading, I do have a couple of things to say. I do have a couple of things to add since
Okay,
the
Debbie
ordinance
wanted
was
to
done.
make some comment.
Since the ordinance was done, the next week, we did get a increase in our health insurance of 5.4% from the state of Tennessee through Edison. That email came the week after we'd done the first reading. It is increasing 5.4%, which is about $43 an employee a month. So for the employees for the year, it would be about $3,600 an increase. The vision did not increase. The dental, we haven't gotten a final cost on it, so they don't know if it's going to increase or not. And the other thing was I got from the Unicoi County Heritage Museum a request for $2,500. They said they had sent it in March. Tina had never received it from them, and she called several times and didn't have it. So they have sent that in with some documentation, some backup that we normally request when anyone's requesting appropriation. So I did want to let you know that I did receive that, and it is $2,500.
There's sort of a dispute, I mean, not a dispute, but they said they sent it in, the request for it, it's about all the documents, they said they sent it in March before we, like, normally do, so I'm not, no reason to doubt it.
Have we made a motion, or are we discussing,
Or we need to do that now?
You need to make a motion to discuss.
Make a motion to discuss the,
A motion to discuss that item. And a second.
Or any other items that you're discussing.
Call for the question.
I have nothing. Oh, to pass the discussion.
To open the floor for discussion, motion. Who made the motion?
You second.
Jeff, second, okay. Alderman Boyd,
Yes.
Alderman Redford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
yes,
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay.
I don't have any reason to dispute that they, say they sent it. Did any of their backup documentation have, was it date stamped at all to say that they have it?
All I know is that Tina had never gotten anything from them. She called several times and never could leave a message because their voicemail was full. We just talked to Martha just shortly, maybe a few days ago. And the secretary, I forget her name, she ended up sending this in. This came in, I don't know, sometime last week.
but the documents have prior dates on it, she's talking about the such date we got today or whenever the Did she have anything?
Well,
prior dated?
the letter was dated March, but the documentation we just received. We didn't receive the letter either. I mean, this is, you know,
The letter, if I might give a little bit more information, because I made the inquiry on that when it came in. The letter is dated March 30th, 2020. It's on the Unicoi County Heritage Museum letterhead, and it has a phone number there at the museum, which I suspect is perhaps where we were calling back to. But at any rate, the treasurer, Susan Chambers, does not, of course, work there. And so I figured out how to get in touch with her and ask her about it. And the information received was that this letter had been forwarded to the town of Irwin and to Unicoi County at the same time. And Irwin received theirs. And when, of course, you all reviewed the information about requests, nothing was included about that letter. As Ms. Wilcox said, it hadn't been received and nothing had been received from them. So I made them aware of other information that was required as part of our request process, and this is what we've gotten. So that's the reason it's back before you, is because they have supplemented what they didn't know had not been received previously.
a letter was received May the 26th, and then I received the other documentation on June the 12th.
Is there any others disputed on that? I mean, did soil conservation, I know you've seen it in, but did they get on there? Did it get, you already go?
Yeah, I don't have anything, I have no agenda whatsoever with the Heritage Museum. My concern would be, are other agencies going to tell us the same thing at some point? I think how we practice about including donations to civic organizations and community groups in our budget needs to be consistent. So that's the concern that I will offer. Are we gonna hear from American Cancer Society that they sent theirs in, but it didn't get received? That's my concern. I think there's gotta be consistency, and if we had a plan, I would expect the organizations to stick on the plan.
We've been doing a better job at it than we used to, because I know early years ago, we just pick and choose. I mean, we were back in but we started cutting off and telling we need all the information, but we've been doing better on it, getting it all corrected, but I don't,
This is probably the first time this has actually ever done that.
Well, probably not in all the town's history, maybe in recent
Yeah,
history.
recent,
Yes. Recent history, yes. So I think that's just a choice we have to make. Do we want to make an exception to our policies about requests for donations, or do we want to make an exception, and then how are we gonna explain the next exception if somebody else comes in with one?
What we could do is tell people to see just certified, somebody has to sign for it that way. If you go, I mean, that would solve it.
Yeah,
You really could do that.
stay on top of it better.
I think next year, when we do the packets for them, I think they should come and pick it up and sign that they've got their packet, and they know what they need to send in and when they need to do it.
package, they kept the package complete.
What has been our normal donation to them?
2,500, but they didn't send they were on the budget this year either. Larry said he didn't receive anything from them for the current year. So they're not down for that either.
Anybody got any ideas on this one?
The last time they got anything was 2018, 2019, it's $2,500.
All right, what about the other item that you had there that you mentioned?
And that was the insurance, the health insurance.
And that's the change on that.
5.4% increase on the health insurance.
We have to, do we have to make a motion on that to get that,
To
add insurance to be?
Yeah, because it wasn't in this budget.
Do you need it? I'll need one of them, we'll need a motion. If you're gonna do it.
I make a motion that we approve the proposed budget with the one amendment to account for the increase in health insurance for the employees of the bank.
Okay.
I'm gonna step out there, Kathy,
Well, there's no second, so.
I'll second that. And I'll second that. I'll second that. I wanna make, I'd like to help the Heritage Museum. They've been working hard on things, not just the up here, but, and they got a lot of good people, older people that would really participate to help and work on that. I'd make a motion that we fund that this year, and from here on out, like, come in and sign for the package or whatever, but I feel, there's several people there they've got, I know I'm a softie, I know that. But I think we ought to help them out this year and put that in the budget.
I'm not against them at all.
I know, that's what I
It's
feel
just the
the same.
procedure, it's just the process.
I know.
That's all I'm speaking.
But we're not back up here, so we gotta.
If you're
motion.
if you're seconding her motion,
I did.
she will have to take her motion back and change it to add the museum.
I withdraw my motion. Would you like to make your motion?
I make a motion that we fund the $2,500 for the Heritage Museum, and should I include
You gotta include the health.
and I make a motion to include the health insurance and fund the health insurance additional for this fiscal year.
I second.
How's that?
You got
I slowed down a little bit now.
it. You got it.
Okay, do we have a motion in a second?
I'm gonna somebody slow down.
Any further discussion? Okay, so that's for the approval of the second reading of the ordinance
With the two
with
changes.
the two changes. Okay, all right, question?
Alderman Boyd,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes.
Today is.
Item
It's
B,
made.
item B is the ordinance 2022-75. It's the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 2022-75. So I will close the regular meeting, open public hearing. Any input from, how do you do the input on the public hearing on this? Lois?
On public hearing, anyone that is listening or has zoomed into the meeting, whether we can see them or not, has the ability to raise their hand inside the Zoom system. If you will go down to if you will go down to chat and hit the chat icon, you will see an option to raise your hand. And if they do that, it will alert me that they want to speak and we can unmute them at that time.
Okay. So, at this time, do we have anyone that's participating electronically?
We have quite a few people participating, 17
I
electronic.
mean, do we have anyone raising their hand?
Not yet, no. But at this time, if anyone wants to speak, they should click the raise hand button.
They'll have 2 minutes if they wish to make a comment.
Is that just for this budget item or anything?
That's for all.
That's for the public
For the
meeting portion. I'm not seeing any hands raised.
Okay. I will.
Oh, Charlene.
Got one?
Yep, let me get her. Can you hear Charlene?
Yes, I can hear you, but you don't want me to speak now, I assume.
Well, you raised your hand. Do you want to speak during this public portion?
Is this now the public comment portion?
This is the public hearing for the budget, correct?
No, I do not want to speak now. I'm sorry.
Okay, yours will be the next.
Okay, thank you, my dear. You can mute me again.
Anyone else?
This is Court. I'd like to speak during the public portion, but my chat button doesn't do anything, so I'm raising my hand.
Are you asking to speak, Court, for the budget?
Oh, I'm sorry, no.
Okay, this one's on the budget. We'll wait till the next one for that.
Okay, sorry, I missed that part.
That's okay.
Okay, I'll close the public hearing then, and we the second reading and public hearing ordinance 2022-75, and ordinance County Union Tennessee, amending the budget ordinance for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2019, ending June 30th, 2020. David, you need to make any comments.
Not unless anybody has some questions.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion approved.
Motion and second for approval. Any further questions? Comments?
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Redmond,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Mayor Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Under unfinished business, we have none. Under new business, in my agenda, number 14, what it is in yours, is the consideration and approval of the agreement between the town of Unicoi and Blackburn Children's Stegall to provide 2019-2020 fiscal year ending accounting services. Debbie, would you like to comment on that?
Yes. As you have in your packet, the fees for the first year would be $6,500, $1,500 being a one-time fee to set up the template. And basically at the end of the year, they would be doing the year-end journal entries, year-end account reconciliations, year-end close, the government-wide financials, annual financials, and notes and supplemental schedules that would be given to the auditor.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Call the question.
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Item B is the consideration of the approval for a contract between the town of Unicoi and Mickey Ellis, CPA, to audit the fiscal year 2019-2020.
Motion to approve.
Second. Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on that item? Call the question.
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Watson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, under C, discussion of Summers Taylor expansion of the asphalt plant located off Bill Garland Drive. Debbie, who goes first?
I have Grant Summers online that would like to speak first to help clear up some miscommunications, he said, and then let everybody else speak to that. Would that be okay?
Okay, that's fine.
All right, Grant, we're gonna unmute you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You have 2 minutes.
Elements, Doug?
Well, thank you for allowing me a chance to speak. I was able to view the Planning Commission the other day, so I guess I get some of the concerns, and definitely there are some misconceptions based on kind of the various permits that were submitted. So I'll quickly try and get through the timeline. We submitted a permit to the state to possibly put a plant out there. We then completed the purchase of CAPS, who has had an existing plant there for 30 some years. Knowing that we were going to be able to utilize that site, we actually looked and found an asphalt plant that was kind of the most efficient and emission advantaged one we could find. We put in a modification to the permit that the state had already approved. So I kind of get where people are a little confused, but there's just going to be one plant. It's just going to be, we're going to be tearing down the CAPS plant. I'm sure you all know the CAPS plant is very old. The technology, the emissions are a very, very old version. And so the plant that we are intending to put up is a much newer plant, much better technology. While it does have a higher capacity per hour than that other plant, I actually don't think that's a bad thing for anybody. If asphalt's going to be produced in the county, it's going to be produced, and it might take 5 days to produce 1,000 tons or 2 days if it's higher. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I did send in some data from the 2 permits, and I don't know if y'all got that, but it just based on the permitted levels that we're able to produce, it's some pretty significant differences between the various types. There's an emission factor. There's a 50 or 68% reduction on the emissions with limitations, which I think is the one that really governs us. That's an 83% reduction in the total amount of carbon monoxide. So this, and the other misconception I think people got is the name of the plant.
Over 2 minutes already.
We just hit the 2-minute mark.
Okay, and yeah, I get the 2 minutes. I just thought maybe having the details might be helpful, but if that's it, then that's it.
I would like to ask you a question.
Sure.
Can you hear him?
Yes.
Would it be agreeable to you if we got together and had some kind of a public meeting or some kind of meeting with some of these folks that are concerned? Would you be willing to do something like that?
Yeah. I mean, I'd be happy to come and talk. I mean, obviously, I'm part of this community. I lived here. I grew up here. I serve on the outdoor committee for NetRep. I mean, we're part of this community, and I want people to be at least informed. I understand asphalt plants are nobody's favorite thing, but we try and do it as best as possible. So we are happy to talk with anybody.
Okay, well, thank you.
We got the information today, and that's very handy. The asphalt, the efficiency comparison, that's great facts. Good to have.
And the thing I was going to say is it's called a double drum, but that means 2 drums. It's actually just a shell within a shell. And so I get why people thought maybe that was multiple plants, but it's not. It's just replacing that one with a much better system that we hope will be a much better neighbor for everybody.
May I ask a question? I'm Alderman Bullen, Kathy Bullen. I have heard citizens use the word expansion. So you're expanding your capacity, but you're not expanding in terms of size and land space and all that sort of stuff.
Yes. I mean, you can term an expansion. I just am calling it an upgrade to the technology at the plant. Like I said, relative to what CAPS was running, because that was their only plant. And so they ran everything that they did out of this Unicoi plant. We will run jobs out of that make sense. And we won't other ones because we have plants in Carter and Sullivan. So I would be pretty certain that the number of days that asphalt plants runs versus the number of days that they ran will be less. Because one, we can produce more per day, but also we have more options. And so again, with the lower emissions per ton, I do think it'll be better than what you've got right now.
Is there any potential for employment, any of our local citizens?
Yes, I mean, there's certainly that possibility. I mean, if we don't have an asphalt plant in the county, there's no possibility. Right now we don't have anybody, but we haven't staffed that plant because it's really kind of sitting right now. So there is certainly a possibility. And I know you guys know this, but there's a material economic impact as well. The sales tax dollars, the personal property tax will be quite a bit higher than what's there now versus basically zero if we move all the plants out of the county. So there are some benefits to the town to having that in there. So I'm sure you guys understand, excise and sales tax and all that.
Grant, this is Doug Hobson. Can I ask you a question? Are you going to be able to help furnish like the county asphalt if they need the asphalt? That's where we can benefit if we can get asphalt through the plant here local instead of having to haul bills from Carter, Sullivan, all these places.
Yeah, and that's a huge deal. I would imagine, Terry called us right after we closed and he said, am I still going to be able to get asphalt? And we said, absolutely. We want Terry, the town of Irwin, all of them to be able to get mix that's produced in the county and not have to haul it from Carter, Sullivan, because that would increase quite a bit. Plus, anybody in town who wants to pave anything, if we're not able to produce here, then that's an extra burden on anybody. And we think this site, as tucked as close to the quarry as we can, is the best situation in Unicoi County.
Okay, any other questions for him? We appreciate you coming on and explaining to us.
And I'll stay on for questions. If anybody else brings up a material matter, that I'm happy to answer questions.
Okay,
Thank you, Grant.
Now we have Court Lewis and Charlene Thomas that would like to speak. Charlene, I'm going to go ahead and ask to unmute you.
Great. Can you hear me?
Hear you. Can you hear us?
Yes, thank you. Grant, can we have some more specifics? For example, you said employment. How many people are we employing?
Typically at an asphalt plant, there's about 5, but there are associated dump trucks. They would not necessarily be, 100% located within the county. But I mean, we have people who work and live in Unicoi County now. I mean, as our region is fairly connected, we have plenty of employees who live in Unicoi and travel to Carter, and they might not have to go that far. So I don't know exact numbers though.
So you might just move some of your existing employees around. You're not saying that you would hire new ones necessarily.
No, if we, when we would be utilizing this plant, and bear in mind, this is a portable and it might not always stay here, but there would be definitely an opportunity for more people to be added.
Okay.
But it's hard for me to say.
Okay. And we're talking about property tax and sales tax. Property tax, how is that going to increase? I'm a little confused on properties the same size. How can you increase property tax?
Well, there's somebody else want to go. There's a personal property that's charged on equipment that the plant that we'd be putting in would be quite a bit more valuable. The plant that CAPS has is pretty well depreciated, if you want to say it, almost down to nothing, and so there would be an increase there.
Okay, so on sales tax, explain to us, if you do state work like I-26, do you pay sales tax?
We do.
Okay.
And my understanding is that the town gets half of the local sales option based on those. I could be wrong, but that's what I've been told.
Okay. What kind of hours are you going to be running? Like day, night?
The vast majority of everything we do would be during the day, as was brought up in a previous meeting. Some things like the interstate are mandated to be done at night. It's not our favorite thing, but it is there. And so there would be times possibly that this plant could be run at night. Bear in mind though, like I said, the current plant could be run at night. And if we had to, we would have to run the interstate jobs out of that. This one, however, has the ability to do it quieter and quicker. And so I think the overall disturbance is less if you're just comparing scenario to scenario.
Charlene,
Comparing trucks coming in.
Charlie, we've gone over.
you're over your time. I'm so
Okay,
sorry.
thank you, Grant.
Happy to help.
Okay, I'm now going to unmute Court. Oh, are you unmuted, Court?
I think so. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Grant. 2 minutes isn't enough time to talk about this. I'd rather sit down and have a conversation about it. But anyway, just to refer to, maybe to pick up on a couple of things that Grant said in his kind of initial remarks. My understanding is that there's actually going to be 2 plants. One is a replacement that you described for the existing plant. And then there's a portable plant that you're moving. I'm sorry, I should address this to the board indirectly to Grant. That Summers Taylor is moving from Bluntville onto the site so that there would be 2 physically separate facilities, both called asphalt plants. I think that's the case, but maybe
that unfortunately is not the case. So like I said, there's only going to be 1 plant. The existing plant in theory will be torn down, and the new one to replace it. Like I said, it looked like there was going to be 2 plants because we had a permit modification that replaced the newer plant that we bought to replace the one that we have now in Bluntville. So there will be only one plant.
Okay, well, the two different permits were very confusing in that regard, but let me run on then, because I'm already halfway through my time or worse. But you mentioned that the replacement plant is much more efficient and so on. But in the application, in the APC application 108, back in the back, it says that the plant was built in 1990. So it's actually a year or so older than the existing plant that's there now, as I understand it. Is that accurate?
It is accurate. However, the technology, they might have put that plant in 1990, but that's probably more like a 60s or 70s model. And regardless, the technology, even at the same time, contemporaneously, was much more technologically advanced. The one we have, you can Google it. I brought some schematics if you want, but it's an Aztec double barrel, and it is a much more superior technology to a batch plant. This is a continuous mix double barrel.
Just to be clear, nobody should think this is a new plant. It's 30 years old. It may have been taken care of. I don't know, but anyway, it's
but it has some brand new components as well. The drum might be older, but the burner and some other things, brand new controls. Yes.
All right. So I mean, folks, the two of us are going back and forth, and I think this is productive for the town. I hope we're not going to get cut off in mid-sentence here. But the same APC 108 air pollution control form requires that a site plan be filed. And I wonder, is there a site plan for this facility in Unicoi showing how all of the different facilities can be fit on the existing 2-acre footprint that it's grandfathered in to function on? That was a long sentence.
Yeah, I think process-wise, we have not submitted a site plan yet because I believe that we go through the air permitting first, and then we, if there is dirt to be moved or things like that, then we submit a site plan based on that. And so, and there's multiple steps to this, but this was just the first putting in the public comment type of part of the process. And just back on your previous thing, the permit that you're looking at, the 1990, that's the old plant that we're not putting in anymore. We bought a newer one than that. I'd have to check the year, but it is newer than that.
Okay, so the two different permits, one of them is somehow invalidated because they very clearly were one to move the Bluntville plant here and the other to replace it, the other existing plant. With
Court,
I'm out of time, huh?
you're out of time. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Well, sorry that response.
Can you unmute my wife, Margaret? She'd like to say a few things too.
Okay, we can get Margaret on there. Okay, we're asking her to unmute.
I thought our citizens were supposed to talk at the end of the meeting. Oh, citizens were supposed to talk.
Hello, hello.
Go, Margaret, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can? You can't hear me?
Yes, they can hear you.
Okay, they can hear me. All right. So my comments are going to be about the hot mix asphalt plant requesting air pollution permits to operate in Unicoi, the town of Unicoi. Where do we go from here? We must have a public meeting for citizen input and response to their questions. Second, a detailed site plan needs to be submitted as part of the air pollution permits. It's on their permit requirement that they absolutely do a permit plan, and you can't tell whether or not they meet the needs of a non-complying space unless you can see all of the facility items that are there, including the wrap piles, including the conveyor belts, including millings. There's parking, office space, etc. On that 2 acres. Section E of the statute also does not permit expansion onto an existing industry or business through the acquisition of additional land. So my question has to do with the 2 acres that are non-conforming to the current zoning and any expansion that might occur into the next properties. The third thing that I think needs to be done is mitigating measures concerning the asphalt plant that address the health and quality of life in the surrounding area need to be established by the town. This permit currently is only an air pollution permit that's being requested of the state. We have not received any notice about water pollution, noise pollution, heavy truck traffic, hours of operation, smell,
fire hazards or emergency evacuation routes, monitoring of air pollution in our mountain valley. So the facts are there are no property taxes that our town gets. And if any, there are sales and use tax, and there are statutes that are specific to that. And I want to remind that 550 homes are within a mile of this hot mix asphalt plant in a semicircular form. And the only thing that's on the other side is a mountain. And I don't know if you can see those beautiful clouds that hang over that beautiful valley. Is that time? I saw
Yep,
some.
that's time.
Anyway, so please, we need a public meeting, please. Thank
Okay.
you.
Did we have anybody else that was wanting to speak? I have someone that keeps unmuting. I was wondering, are you trying to raise your hand? Oh, I've got a chat from that person. Hold on. Yes.
Am I there? Am I there?
Phyllis Fox.
Okay. Yeah. Phyllis, can you hear us?
I can hear you, and I hope you can't see me because I'm in my messy kitchen. Grant, I'm very curious. The initial, well, first of all, they say, the air people say you are going to send more pollutants into the air. I don't think they would say that unless they thought you were going to. But the thing that also concerns me is your initial application that you did get a permit for was hidden on the back page of the Kingsport Times. And that, I don't think there's anybody in Unicoi that reads that. Was that a mistake on somebody's part?
Yeah, I'd happy to deal with that. So the way this works is we apply to the state handles public notices. So we had nothing to do with that. We had no idea where they were advertising, and I don't know why they would advertise that in Sullivan County. We didn't know until after the fact, and they said, "Here, the permit's approved." Yeah, we ran it in Kingsport for a month. So honestly, I understand how that looks, but we have nothing to do with that. The state does all of their own public notices to make, ostensibly to make sure it's done right. But,
So are they incorrect in saying that there will be more pollutants in the air?
I read that tiny phrase. I don't understand how they get there because all the permit requirements explicitly state that the gross number of emissions going into the air are quite a bit less. So I really can't speak to that. I know what we're held to.
Is that mixer from 1991?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Is that mixer from 1991, and is it the one that's been carted from various places?
No, it is not. Kind of trying to follow the process. The latest permit amendment is from a newer plant that has brand new parts on it. Many times you replace things as you go. And so we bought this from somebody actually out in Arizona, but they had upgraded significant portions of this. It's got brand new controls, brand new burner, asphalt geek stuff, but it is not the same plant that we have been running in Sullivan County. The initial permit was for that, and then we switched gears and changed the plan because we found a plant that we thought would be a better neighbor for everybody.
And would you object to us having a public meeting?
No, I'm happy to answer questions.
Phyllis, we've hit the 2-minute mark.
That's okay.
Okay,
I'm
we
done.
have one more person that wants to speak, and I believe that would be Bill. Okay, Bill, now I'm trying to unmute you. It says iPhone Bill NUSD, so possibly. Bill, I'm trying to unmute you. Can you hear us? Bill, can you hear us?
He might be muted himself.
Uh-huh. And it's not allowing me to unmute him. I'm messaging him now, asking him to unmute. Bill? He's been trying for so long to unmute and speak. Okay, last call. Bill? I did. I'm not getting anything. if at the end, if he wants during that public portion.
Did he send the question on that?
No, he has. Wait, he might just, oh, can you hear us, Bill?
He's open.
Bill, can you hear us? We can hear you. Bill, can you say something? Bill, we can hear you. If you want to go ahead and start.
Or send him a message asking him to type this question.
Hey, guys, you still have me unmuted. That might be why Bill can't talk.
No, you're actually both unmuted, which is, it'll allow it, but now I've muted her. I don't think he can hear us is the problem. So that could be why, because we can obviously hear him.
Speak now.
Can you see you, Ashley? His feed's gone away. He said something happened to his feed. I can't hear. Bill, if you can hear.
Well, you just have to move on.
Yep. Okay, I'm sorry, Bill. We'll come back around at the end, I guess, during public comment. Okay. All right, that is all. Trish, are you seeing anyone that else has a hand raised?
No, I don't see it.
That's the way it usually is.
Okay, so that's all I have that want to speak currently.
That it?
Mhm.
Okay, we'll move on to the next item. I have down here a motion and second. What would we put a motion on, Debbie? We don't need to make a motion on anything.
Well, to close the road? Did
On
you
the
have a
road,
vote?
on
On this?
Taylor.
Well, yeah, the motion, the second was there to discuss.
Yeah.
And y'all just, started discussing, and then the citizens started.
Okay. Approval of the approval to close Washington Street behind Town Hall to allow easy access to gas trucks to fill gas lines with liquid gas, while the gas supplier, East Tennessee National Gas, does testing on the current gas lines, and it will last approximately 18 days, you say?
18 days.
I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion.
I'll say it. Okay. Any further discussion? Call the question.
Alvin Bowen,
Yes.
Alvin Radford. Yes. Alvin Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes.
May I ask an after the fact question, please? How will all those people that cut through here and drive this drive, how will they be notified? Will they just drive one morning and that's all of a sudden closed? Or is
Yeah,
the
they're
county
gonna
employee gonna
take
put
care
effort?
of closing the road. We don't have to do
Yeah, we don't
anything.
have
They're
to
gonna
do
put up, road blocks, and, they'll be pulling their trucks over here on the property that they own. They'll bring in liquid gas to put in the lines, while they do their gas testing.
Is the
They're
Is
taking care of
town of
everything.
Unicoi gonna do anything regarding messaging to citizens? Are they just gonna wake up one day and find the road blocked? Are we gonna
Well,
give them some anticipation?
We
Is the
should
town of Unicoi
probably
gonna
give
participate?
them, this is gonna happen in August, so they should be, we should put something in the paper, definitely on our.
I'd say they will.
Social media, website.
But I think we should as well. I think the town has a responsibility.
think we were on 45 through there.
Public notice ahead of time.
What speed limit will be there when it's closed? That's a good area to sit.
All right, we have a motion to ask them to, for us to put a notice in the paper concerning the vote.
Well, what the
No, it
motion,
wasn't a
there was just a
motion,
comment.
Just a comment. Yeah, comment.
You already voted, they were approved. We can do that.
We do it.
Yeah, and it will be from August 4th to August 31st.
The Board of Officers Committee, Economic Development Board. That's the report. that we-
Well, I've got some economic development stuff in my report.
Yeah. Disaster emergency plan and railroad safety by Mayor Hoffman.
Being bad, lady, with nothing we can report on that.
We got committee all over the level.
Nothing.
Unicoi Business Alliance. All over the level.
Yeah, we're still planning to have the big trail on September 19th.
We're waiting until all this fire thing that we're trying to meet with the businesses all day.
What, September, when might be?
September.
History Committee. First Tennessee Human Resource Agency by Mayor Hoffman.
I haven't been with them. You got anything to say on that?
They meet Wednesday. Planning Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals.
Had a meeting nice Monday night, which was sort of strange, but anyway, there was no business, there were discussions, the asphalt plant brought up, but we know no other on the agenda, except we got a new planner here, which is Allison Woodward, she's a citizen. She's a new planner. That's all there's nothing. Yes, on that.
Yes. Thank you. Decorating Committee, here, Animal Welfare Board, Health Board.
I'm counting on the fact that they be sending us their stuff. I didn't print anything off. I can't recall and I can tell you anything. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. I fell down on the job.
I didn't hear anything.
I fell down on the job. That's on me. I'm sorry.
With 911 Board. That's the tour license. Although we have had a couple of ambulance meetings.
I was wondering what's the status of that.
Everything's going fine. We received a copy of the employee handbook today. It's detailed. I've not really had a chance to read through some pages. Everything's fine. The state has given us the authority to operate. And that should be a total transfer over July 15th. Is when I think they said it'll be total everything transferred to ours. Yes.
So
We do have one little glitch. The ambulances, that company went out of business. And we should, they're fast tracking, we should have ambulances by July 1st. There's another bid opening on the 18th. Yeah, Thursday. And, it was sent out to bid, and probably instead of having them built, it may be some that are on the lot already built, ready to go.
Did they achieve their real C3, 5C3? I don't know. There's numbers. They made that application.
That's close. It's still not clear.
501(3)C. That's my letters in order numbers. Okay. Still working on that one. Still waiting.
Yeah, still waiting. everything's in order. They did have to resubmit some stuff, and so everything seems to be in great shape, ready to go.
The Mountain Harvest Kitchen, another report from Lee.
Lee is with us, yes.
Okay.
Lee,
Can you hear me?
there you are.
See her.
Hello, Lee.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Hello. In May, Mountain Harvest Kitchen was rented for 128 hours to 7 processing members. So that's an average of 32 hours per week. Despite current situation, we're really pleased that we've been able to remain open. And in fact, May was one of the busiest months in regard to kitchen rentals this year. So pretty happy about that. I think this is partly because of the cost share program that we've been offering. And I also want to point out that because of our bill cycle, the revenues for this month are appearing lower than what they actually were, and that will get corrected when we get reimbursed from the JEDB. We had 2 new clients start working this month at MHK, one for the purpose of recipe testing for a restaurant concept. They were interested in using specifically some commercial equipment for their product. And the other is a catering business that just launched. Mayfield Market is the meal delivery service. They're based in Johnson City, and they offer a rotating menu of prepared family meals. So it's a lot of frozen casseroles. They do like enchiladas, French toast casserole, pre-made smoothies. There are lots of options for providing healthy meals at home for families. We're excited that they chose to start and launch here, and we look forward to helping them continue to grow. July 1st, we are hosting a virtual learning opportunity for new food businesses. We've partnered with the Tennessee Driving Innovation to host virtual mentoring sessions for businesses and aspiring food entrepreneurs. Advisors from the Driving Innovation will be available to schedule one-on-one discussions. We're calling the event Ask the Advisors, and we're steering conversations towards topics like calculating food costs, securing capital, marketing. We're excited to have these mentors with experience running small businesses on board. It is a first for us in virtual trainings, as well as for Tennessee Driving Innovation. So we'll see how it goes. And we hope that it's well received, because I think there's a lot of opportunity there if we can get that format nailed down with our network. And then last, I wanted to report that the MHK was awarded that $30,000 no match grant contract with the state of Tennessee Economic and Community Development. So the program's aim is to develop startup food entrepreneurs and rural community success by focusing on enhancing our areas of service. So that's nice that we had some flexibility, and it goes along with our strategic plan. So the 3 broad goals of that project are improving our industry specific training. So we all know that building subject skills is essential to starting a business, and improving consumer outreach and marketing. So really telling those stories of our users while building pipelines for new clients at the kitchen. We think that will be very helpful. And launching a cost share program, so something similar to what we've done with this COVID relief fund. So that starts in July, and funds will be available until 2022. And we already preempted it and got on the budget, so no changes there. And that's all I have to report.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Lee.
Lee.
Good report. Okay, Parks and Rec, tourism relations update.
We've got a little bit of everything for you. As far as our events are concerned, we did successfully host the Unicoi County Health Department for the drive-through COVID-19 testing that was held last Wednesday. They were able to test 60 people at that event, and they were all contacted by phone as to what their results were. We have an upcoming event that is the ribbon cutting for Las Guacamayas. That is right across the street here on Unicoi Drive. It is going to be this Friday, June 19th at 11 a.m. We have sent out a press release to the newspapers. We've sent out email invites to all the Alderman Planning Commission, the Business Alliance, all department heads. So we're asking everybody come and join us to help them open their business. We also have some posts on social media regarding that. The following June events have been canceled, all of them. The Unicoi Farmers Market and Community Yard Sale. We actually were able to receive a small grant through the Appalachian Sustainable Agricultural Project. And it was just to get us some supplies to help us have, I guess, work through the COVID guidelines. There were some signage that we were able to get, and then we were able to purchase the food handling gloves so people can touch the produce and then immediately dispose of those. So if we are able to open at some point, we are COVID prepared. It's just a matter of getting the green light for that. As far as the community yard sale, that is separate, even though we have the Unicoi Farmers Market and the community yard sale every Tuesday. We also hold a community yard sale once a month on a Friday. All of that has been canceled for June, and we're not sure yet about July. The movies in the park, I did discuss with the mayor this afternoon. Although the June event was canceled, we do think that we might be able to do that one in July. It's quite easy to social distance there. Every family's kind of on their blanket. We've got a whole, not a football field, but a whole soccer field. So I think we can make that one work. Wanted to tell you a little bit about some of the tourism projects and economic development that we're working on. The Clinchfield Railroad caboose, as you know, was put on hold. The restoration was put on hold due to COVID. We just couldn't have anybody coming out to work. We are now restarting that. Tyler Lynch will be coming out within the next 2 to 3 weeks to remove the window grates and to replace the smokestacks on top of the caboose that he had to cut off for transport. So he'll be fixing that within the next 2 to 3 weeks. We have one quote where we're getting quotes for painting and all of the things that need to be done on the exterior of the caboose. One quote that we have is for about $5,700 for sandblasting and priming of the exterior. That is just the sandblasting and the priming. That is not the painting nor the supplies. Another quote that we have regarding just the sandblasting or removing the paint and priming, there is a possibility that we could get it for about $2,500 to $3,000. So that would greatly reduce that cost for us. Rocky Hollifield out of the Craggy Mountain Line over North Carolina. If any of you were around the caboose when it was being moved, his men worked diligently on that project. And he believes that his team and subcontractors can accomplish all the exterior work for approximately $8,000. That would include the sanding, the priming, the materials, the paint, the painting, the striping, and small decals. Now, any of the large decals, we will need to go through a vinyl expert, possibly as local, as Irwin. So we're kind of getting some quotes on that. As far as economic development is concerned, we have the town of Unicoi is proud to announce we received the scholarship to go to the Retail Academy in August, and that is Retail Academy 101. It's going to, first we're going to gain some important research. We're going to have a gap report, a peer analysis, and a mobile tracking that is specific to our trade area, not the county as a whole, but specific to us as the town of Unicoi. And we will receive the demographics on customized trade areas with radius rings, drive times, a retail market guide, retail and restaurant prospect list, as well as focus zones for retail recruitment, which I know we've already kind of identified a few of our zones that we want, one of which being Unicoi Drive as far as the facade grant program. So we'll also go over some case studies, interaction with industry leaders, and we will get to attend a networking reception where we'll get to speak to some people within the industry. I do believe the mayor, Debbie, and myself will be attending that. As far as the marketing is concerned, website revamp, we had to put that on a brief hold while we planned the June events. Unfortunately, those did get canceled last minute, so we're back on the website project. Trish is diligently working to proof the site, and she can attest there are a lot of pages within it, and I am working to make the changes as she finds them. Also, I wanted to mention that the Unicoi County Joint Economic Community Development Board is starting a project for a countywide tourism site, and we are participating with them and helping them come up with ideas and come up with content. So that's something that we're excited about as well. And then everybody will be happy to know we now have a cleaning staff. They were recently hired. They started June 8th, and so far we are very pleased. It is a contract service, so it's not an employee of the town, which will save us some money there. And that's about all I have this time.
All righty, thank you. Good report. Police Department, Police Chief Andy Slagle.
Hello.
Hello.
Come up here to this podium.
Just kidding, just kidding.
Made about 14 arrests, summonses for 3 of them was felony this month. One was assault with a knife. We had one who worked at suicide with the county. Been working, we get working with the fire department a little bit, some too, and we do a lot of the public safety aspect of it. We actually fought a fire this month. It's pretty exciting. We're down 3 accidents from last month. We've been doing a lot of traffic. We had 9 last month. We're down to 6 now. Working to try to get the Explorer program going in July, hopefully. If everything works out with COVID. Aaron, Officer Aaron Wood, is in his last week of transition school. So he, good thing about him, he actually took off his full-time job for 3 weeks to go down there. It's in Nashville. He's on his last week. He's really enjoying it, really learning a lot. Officers that have been certified in other states, they go to transition school. So he's been going down there Monday through Thursday. He's graduating Thursday. Been doing a little bit of starting the code enforcement. Then start off with law warnings. They've been a lot really effective on that. We've actually talked about 6 or 7 people already. Got a list to continue going. We're starting with warnings, but mostly everybody's been coming through with what their problems was. There's 296 volunteer hours last month for the guys that's working. And these are, and majority of them full time, or they're certified officers, so they're trained officers. And that's a blessing.
That's a lot of good compliments.
They're a blessing to have.
And no negative. Everybody's been complimenting how nice those guys are. I didn't say that about you, but probably don't.
That's total add up. That's over $4,000 pretty much. We've also had a guy that's been riding with us. He's a doctoral candidate. He's going to be a criminal justice professor in the university. He's working on his doctorate, I guess is what you call it. He's been riding with us as urban and seeing what we do because he wants to get some real life experience because he's going to be in top teaching criminal justice. So he wants to actually get some hands-on experience because he don't have any. And I respect that a lot more than trying to go in and struggle and not have any experience in the field. He's been doing really good with us, this work, just riding and serving us. And he's a good kid. He's going to Liberty to get his doctorate. So it's been an exciting month. We've done a lot, and guys have been really working hard. And excited to get Aaron to come back. But everything's been good with us.
Good job.
People are happy, Andy, thank you. People are happy.
Municipal court report.
Okay, municipal court docket for June the 2nd. We had 21 citations, 29 violations, 11 were speeding, 3 was equipment, 6 financial responsibility, registration, 1 failure to stop, 2 with no driver's license, 2 accidents, 2 license plates expired, 1 seatbelt, 1 open container. So the total fines were $3,385 for the month of June, for the docket for June.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you. Got a really good group of guys. You do. Recorder's report, Debbie?
Okay, we've talked about the closing of Washington Street, and we'll get together a public notice for the paper. I think our contact, that's Tim Whitson, he made it sound like they were going to be taking care of everything. FEMA update with Donna Wingler. I was told by Donna Wingler with FEMA that quality control had denied the town of Unicoi road claims. They stated that Lauren should not have been on the list of flood damaged roads. They also said that the other roads back at Hensley, Lanningham, and Ogle did not meet the $4,200 threshold for damages. And she told me that we could file an appeal. However, it would be costly and time consuming.
And that's typical FEMA. That's yours and that's all the time.
All the time we've wasted that money, we've wasted on that. discussed it.
We should have done it to start with. I mean, you know, hey, we done that, we done all these jobs.
Well, this has been going on for over a year.
We know all these people we take, we need to take.
FEMA team.
Anything else, Debbie?
No, well,
They've had a half dozen people working on it. I mean, they
keep changing jobs, they keep changing jobs,
Yeah.
yeah. Let's see, the Buffalo Valley Connector Grant, this grant will end, February 21st, 2021. I did talk with Ken Ray about an extension, and he said that the completion date is too far away for me to ask for an extension, which I understand that.
He was positive about it. He had a positive air about it, didn't he?
Yes, because he said if you get closer and you think that you need an extension date, you know, yes, you could probably get one. We've spent in this fiscal year $12,234. So the entire project so far, we've spent $47,891. Update on the amphitheater. Still kind of talking with Jonathan about the, not Jonathan, it's Jane Carr. That we've spent so far $24,300 in engineering costs with McGill and Associates and the administrative fee that we had for the First Tennessee Development District. The RW Bridge, still in the engineering state. We had the second week of June. We've spent $25,906 to Tennessee or Hampton. And there are additional engineering costs of $35,394 for a total engineering cost for that project of $61,300. And again, I know I've mentioned this before. It won't be until we wrap up the engineering phase that the project would go out to bid, and we would be able to get back our engineering costs. Who's doing the engineering on the amphitheater? McGill and Associates.
Hey, on the other grant, one that the health department's giving us to do a little thing at the trailhead. We don't want it to fall through the cracks. I mean, boy said we got plenty of time to extend it to the final and all that stuff, but I don't want it last day. You know, that's one that Tony and Danny was gonna be working on all that.
I understand.
I was actually asked about that from Michelle the other day, how if we had progressed on it, and to my knowledge, we have not.
I know, but I keep telling them we're working on it, because I asked them a month ago, and they said, well, we're working on stuff here at the building, but I don't think anything can be done. I don't wanna, we need to get somebody on that, or somebody, other guy, whatever, it just seems like.
Well, you got, Danny's got some personal problems too, not medical, or medical problems, not these, but I just hate what it down.
Take on something like that, you know, just, you know, we're good, but not, you know, what we say we want to do.
Are we worried that we won't be able to complete it before December?
Yeah, but all we done right, not wait last minute, try to throw up something, you know, that's what I'm, you know what I'm saying, you know, if you can't get someone else to do it or whatever, we need, I'm not talking about Tony and Danny or nothing, but it seems like they don't have time or can't get on it. They said they've been working on it, but
To my knowledge, we don't have any. Our grant is for $20,000, and that money covers the equipment and all of the things that we'll need. So there's no money to necessarily hire someone. So I think if that's an option we want to do, I think you guys would probably have to vote for more money to be spent. And is that correct?
we put money in that, we put money in that one time, we put money in there to do about 10,000.
For the playground, right?
Yeah, for y'all.
Yeah, we did.
But it might be shifted without you.
Probably, is it now?
I'm pretty sure, Debbie, that just 20,000 is for that grant currently, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
That's all we have
That
budgeted.
Tim's.
Well, it's not even in our budget. It shouldn't be, because they're paying for it. The health department is paying the 20,000. I was under the impression, you know, that it was going to be put in our budget and we were going to pay it, but that wasn't how it ended up being. They're paying for everything, so. But we're paying the people to put it together, our employees. Yes. Yeah, which, I mean.
Debbie, can you talk to the boys and get a little update?
Yeah, and like he mentioned, Danny's been out for several days.
They said they bought some of the supplies or equipment that was working on that part.
They did buy some things from Lowe's. I don't know exactly what. So, well, they both had some, some issues that they've been dealing with. As
Plus,
far-
we've had a lot of rain too, which makes it hard to.
Yeah, it's hard to work in the mud, I guess. I haven't heard anything else on the Indian Creek Bridge so far. I'm sure they'll let us know whenever we need to do something. As far as the Mountain Harvest Kitchen ARC grant, year to date, we've spent $87,447, and we've been reimbursed $57,834. Last week, I paid out the rest of the appropriations for the year, $12,066. And this week, we're paying out the final bond payment of $43,750. So that stuff will be reflected in your June financials, not in the ones we're looking at now.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. Financial oversight and reports.
Okay, if we take a look at the balance sheet for the general fund, you can tell that our cash is about $904,000. And like I said, we're taking a little chunk of cash out in this month that will show up, in your June financials. Still have the liabilities of $1,248,000, and the net income is $63,382. Mountain Harvest Kitchen, as you know, we take their cash from each month. I did want to mention too that we received today, actually, the mail, $2,500 from the Joint Economic Development Group for the kitchen. $2,500 that I think Lee has mentioned, talked about several times. That came in the mail today. Moving on to the revenues for the general fund, we've got budgeted $2,463,000 in revenue. May's numbers were $117,319, and year to date we're at $1,552,544. And you can tell the biggest difference is from grants revenues that were budgeted that did not happen, basically. The expenditures, year-to-date budget, $3,013,399, and for April it's $78,868, and year-to-date's $1,489,161, and so the net income year-to-date is $63,383. Mountain Harvest Kitchen, year-to-date revenues were $101,529, and expenditures are $185,000, and the net income loss is $83,475. Moving on to the state shared revenues, May came in at $38,501. Previous year was $28,126, and then the 17-18 fiscal year was $27,662. So if you take a look at our year for 1920, without the month of June, which we don't have yet, we should get next week, we're at $316,920 for the total year. Last year we were at $319,975. 17-18 year we were at $307,423. Take a look at the bar chart on the next graph, showing the 3 fiscal years. The local option sales tax for the year, for the fiscal year, not that we don't have the June numbers, but it's at $795,581. And the 18-19 fiscal year is at $770,317. And then the 17-18 fiscal year is at $736,528. And then the next sheet shows your graphs. Chart.
just remember that we've got a 2-month lag. What we're looking at.
Okay, all right, so motion.
Motion to approve the financial report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the financial report. Any further discussion? Call for question?
Alderman Bowen,
Yes.
Alderman Radford,
Yes.
Alderman Linville,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hobson,
Yes.
Mayor Lynch.
Yes. Okay, item 16, do we have any citizens' comments that were previously submitted electronically, Ashley?
I do not have anything that has been sent electronically. I'm checking the chat right now. No, did you say that someone had their hand raised? No, okay. No, I have no.
Okay,
For the record, Mayor, was anything delivered or?
No.
or made
No,
to
we
town
have not
hall?
received anything here or in the mail.
okay, we have not received any. Okay. Questions and comments from the public viewing electronically. When we set this up, we didn't realize this afternoon, we found out that Mr. Summers would be joining in on this discussion. And so that's why when we were talking about this, that we went ahead and let the people ask their questions to him. I assumed that he wasn't going to be here and all we would just get their comments and that's all. So I apologize for that, but I felt like that was the best way to handle that situation since we had Mr. Summers there. There was an opportunity for them to be able to ask.
I think it's nice of them to do that, and it clears air on some things, and we need to get more facts on all this. We need facts, not just say, hey, we got this many, this many, but I think we can, I think they're willing to give us the facts, and that public meeting, they kept asking 100 times, but he said, that's fine with him, so we can go forth there, I don't see what else we can do.
How will we do a public meeting?
So to that note now, we have down questions, comments.
Virtual.
Did we ever get a hold of Mr. Nuss?
No, he has gotten off of the call now, it looks like. Yes, he's gotten off the meeting, so.
Okay, that's it on the public comments,
Yes,
correct?
does anyone, if anyone has anything to say, now would be the time that you raise the hand icon.
I don't see the raise the hand icon. Can I raise my hand?
Go ahead, Court.
All right, thanks. So yeah, I appreciate all the discussion we did on the asphalt issue, but what was left kind of hanging at the end, I think, was the question of a public hearing. I think Grant Summers said he'd be happy to answer some questions, and his time in didn't, and there was no kind of motion on the part of the town to have a public hearing. The Planning Commission meeting last week, they were unanimous in wanting to press the BMA for that. So I may be speaking out of turn. I don't know as a citizen whether I can ask for this or not, but can there be some clarity on whether the town will call for a public hearing on this issue, not on Zoom, which basically people have trouble with and very few people know about, and where there's more than a 2-minute time limit to speak, where is there the possibility of having, there are so many questions still open on this because of the short time we had. And a lot of people want to ask questions about it, many more than are here on this little checkerboard screen here. So can we have a public hearing?
Lois, what do you think? You had more idea what.
We haven't yet heard from the state if they're going to impose a public hearing.
Right.
That issue's been raised with them by many citizens in the town. The mayor wrote a letter pointing out that citizens were interested in that and asking if it would not be beneficial. We still don't know if they're going to call a public hearing. And so, for us, we don't have any particular business for us to invoke a public hearing. But if Mr. Summers is willing, the town citizens want to participate, then certainly we can set an opportunity for that to take place. I think the first step would be to find out if the state's going to have one. We don't know that yet.
Well, we've gotten an email. The mayor and I called the contact that we had today and I left a message. We did get a response from the letter that you sent and from Jimmy Horton. And he gave us a contact, and her name's Jan Compton. And she is supposed to give us information regarding how we do a public meeting and hearing process as it relates to the Summers Taylor issue.
Now, who are those people?
The Tennessee Environment,
TDEC, isn't it?
TDEC?
Environmental
Yeah,
conservation.
it's environmental.
They're TDEC people?
Yeah.
Jimmy
Yeah,
Horton
right,
is in,
yeah,
from
from-
Nashville,
Okay,
and then the contact, that he gave us is in Johnson City.
local, okay.
Yeah, so that they do some guideline for it, you know, we better,
Yeah.
for sure.
But she was not there. We left a message and we didn't get a, a response back.
Mr. Summers said he'd be glad to have it, but I mean, when we decide whatever gets worked out, I mean,
Yeah.
he's up, I mean, he's open to it, you know, so
Yeah.
we can do that.
Seem to be.
Did the planning commission, y'all did not approve anything for him? He just brought it to communicate it to the planning commission?
He wasn't at the planning commission. Planning commission voted to
Where you sent the
ask for
letter,
a public meeting.
where you sent the letter out,
They've already done that, really.
you've already done that, so,
And Mr. Summers is still on the call.
yes.
And for purposes of the record, let me add, this didn't come out with regard to the information about the planning commission, but the planning commission chairman asked that this be on the BMA agenda so that the BMA would be aware of these issues. So that's how it got on the agenda and the opportunity for people to comment earlier than is customary on our agendas, because the planning commission chairman asked that it be on the agenda.
Okay, so Taylor Summers has not brought anything officially to the town of Unicoi yet.
No.
Is that correct?
Except for what you have in your hand that was delivered
I mean,
today.
did not bring anything to the planning commission as a proposal for approval or anything?
No.
He did not.
It only
know that.
came as a topic because of our planning commission chairman. Okay, all right, I just,
Discussion.
thank you, that cleared up a misconception there, okay. Got it.
Any other comments from anyone? Okay, thank you, Court.
Okay, so I guess we take that a step at a time and wait to see what the state wants to do. Is that right?
Yes.
Correct.
They-
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on. Any announcements from anyone? Stay safe. Motion adjourned.
Just want to reiterate, please, everyone join us at the Las Guacamayas. I'm still learning that one. Friday, June 19th at 11 a.m.
We had a good turnout for lunchtime today. I saw several.
Yeah, seems like.
Okay, all righty. We have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.
We're still live.
Good live.